Good morning to you. I just want to start this morning by saying in the light of what's happening in the world now, especially now in the Middle East and all the pro-Palestinian demonstrations that are taking place across the world and the delusion that is settling on people's minds concerning the history of Israel and the Jewish people. There's never been a time now where it's so important to understand the history of the Bible. And this is why I'm looking back on these things and just trying to lay the foundation as to what God's perspective is. And we're going through this series a little bit of just trying to understand the origins of how the Jewish people came to be and how the same general, the Arab peoples, of course not all of them, but in general, and the understanding of where they started from and originated. And yesterday we were looking at Isaac and Ishmael. And I just want to continue in that vein again with a few more chapters, just trying to understand the purposes of God behind all this. And I've just got 4 scriptures this morning that I want to share with you, if you'll bear with me. I'll try and précis them down if I can, but a couple of them are fairly lengthy, but please bear with me. I've got them to my left here if you see me looking. Let's have a look here at, first of all, we know that Abraham went into his maidservant, as we discussed yesterday, and then she gave birth to Ishmael, and then Sarah was blessed similarly by the Lord. And then we know what happened there with the 2 women, how they responded to one another. So let's just have a little look at that. Let's just go to Genesis 21 and the birth of Isaac to start with. And the Lord visited Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son, Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Hagar wasn't very happy. Now remember, Ishmael was Abram's firstborn son. So let's go here from verse 9. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abram, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abram, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abram's sight because of his son. Remember, this was Abram's firstborn son. He thought that this was the God-given promise that he received from the Lord. But nevertheless, Sarah, in her old age, was able to conceive. And it goes on here in verse 12. And God said to Abram, Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, in all that Sarah hath said unto thee. Hearken unto her voice. This was a time when God told the man to hearken to his wife. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Now, please take note here. It's the importance of every sentence in the Word of God. God's telling Abram here, is reminding Abram here of the promise that he made to him in the beginning, that he would have many people would be born from the son that he would have. But it wasn't to be Ishmael. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. Now you see, God doesn't just stop there. He goes on to say that there is blessing for Ishmael and for the nations that will come from Ishmael. And so Abram rose up early in the morning, took bread and a bottle of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away And she departed and wandered into the wilderness of Bathsheba. I won't go into the whole thing, but we know that she went into the desert and she thirsted. And God provided a spring for her. And it goes on to say, and God was with the lad, verse 20. He grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And moving on to Genesis 25, some verses here. I'll just try and précis it down a little bit for you. From verse 12. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abram's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abram. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. I won't read out all the names, it's quite a long list. Anyway, it goes on, verse 16. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. Interesting, isn't it? That parallel. 12 princes, 12 tribes of Israel. And it says, and these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died and was gathered unto his people. So what happened with Isaac? And it says here from verse 20, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went in to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be the stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, fighting twins. This was a battle that was going on inside her body. And what did God tell her? Inside you are 2 nations. We tend to think of twins, don't we, as being inextricably linked together, virtually the same in every way. But yet these twins were completely different. They were separate from one another. And verse 25, and the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. After that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. His name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob had sod pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, meaning red. And Jacob said, sell me this day my birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. They were so different, these 2 boys, in every way. Different physically, different spiritually, different in their attitudes. Esau, a man of the ground. Jacob, of a different heart and of a different spirit. So we begin to see something happening here. I'm going to draw something together that maybe not all of you know or have read about, but it's an interesting fact. I'll come to that soon. Genesis 28, and I'm looking at verses 6 to 9. I'm trying to do all this inside Scripture, because I think this is the safest place to be. This way we make no assumptions about anything. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, because we know the whole story, don't we, of how Jacob tricked Isaac into thinking that he was Esau and getting the birthright and the whole story behind that. I won't go into that here. We'll just go on. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Paddan Aram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, "Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan." Again, not to be corrupted by other blood, ungodly blood. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Paddan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath the daughter of Ishmael, Abram's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. So let's take note of the facts here. Verse 9 actually says Esau went to Ishmael. He went to Uncle Ishmael, effectively. Remember, Ishmael and Isaac were of the same father. So this was the connection here. And he took a wife, which he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael. So Esau, being of that different nation, went to join himself to Ishmael, who was of that other nation, remember, the son of Hagar the Egyptian. Interesting connection, isn't it? He gravitated towards Ishmael. And that fight that was in the womb between Jacob and Esau, that's the fight. And Esau effectively went to the other side, joined himself with those he was meant to be joined with in Ishmael. So effectively, although they were twins in the body of Rebekah, they had that separation was already there. So finishing up today, I just want to read a couple of verses from Genesis 36. Esau, this is from verse 1. These are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took the wives of the daughters of Canaan, and it goes on to describe all the wives. And it just says here in verse 9, and these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. And it's thought that Edom actually is that part of southwest Jordan. Those of you that know your history of the what we now call the Palestinian people actually came from the area of Jordan. And that's why many Palestinians actually identify with Esau. So we begin to see, don't we, how these two nations developed. God has a plan for both, which we'll discuss in another video. And this whole recognition of the Palestinians as Edom as their ancestor. And we begin to see how these things all join together. We begin to see how Satan has used the situation, the history of the situation, to bring about this enmity. We'll leave it at that today, but let's just keep that thought in mind, where Esau gravitated to, how he married the daughter of Ishmael, and set up that connection. God had these two connections. Right? You could say it's Israel and Egypt in the inverted commas sense. But, it's so important to know the history, the biblical history of the situation that we're facing today. I saw a very distressing articles over the weekend concerning the pro-Palestinian demonstrations. And young ladies actually wearing pictures of paragliders coming down the Hamas when they attacked Israel by surprise, picture was posted of, I think it was by Black Lives Matter, actually said that we stand with Hamas. And they had a picture of a paraglider. And there were girls actually photographed in London on Saturday, having stuck these pictures of paragliders onto their backs. Thousands of people under a delusion. And this delusion is growing. And it's very worrying, especially as we see it developing in Western nations. We'll discuss more of these things tomorrow. And if you've managed to bear with me, it hasn't been easy to put these scriptures together and to try and just see this all down for you. But let's just commit it all to prayer and put it into God's hands. And I pray today is a blessed one for you.